Okay, folks, it's like he says, you can't fix stupid. I want to talk a little bit about the inflation that we have experienced under Joe Biden's administration. And of course, the problem here and the reason why they can't get it under control is because they don't understand the cause. They all think, mainstream media and the politicians and the Federal Reserve chairman and the board all think it's a monetary policy problem that has created inflation because they printed all that money during COVID and they ran off another 2 trillion under the bills they've passed under Biden since then, 2, 3, or 4 trillion. So my assertion is that the inflation we had when Joe Biden took office was not caused by monetary policy. It was caused by energy policy. On day one, Joe Biden shut down the Keystone Pipeline. That altered the future outlook of oil and petroleum, which is a futures market. It immediately started an inflationary curve that ran the price of gasoline and diesel up so far, so fast, that it affected every single element of our production, transportation, and distribution system within 6 months. That high price, the additional costs of gasoline and diesel, has to be paid. The trucks don't move without the fuel being paid for. They can't operate at a loss. In order to accommodate the rapidly quickly and high rising prices of fuel, gasoline, electricity, natural gas, prices had to rise. All the trucks deliver the goods. They got to get paid. There's a surcharge for the fuel when it rises that quickly. So what you had was energy prices being intentionally driven up by bad policy directly from Joe Biden, implemented on day one to intentionally drive up the price of oil and destroy the energy independence that America had accomplished under Donald Trump, where we had, for the first time since World War II, become net, and I guess it's 1957 or so. First time since then, we become a net exporter of oil rather than an importer. So Biden intentionally destroyed energy independence. He intentionally drove the price of oil up. The price of gasoline and diesel cascaded into the price of goods on every shelf in every store in America and around the world. And those price increases were at the time blamed by Biden on Putin's price hike, right? It was Putin. No, Putin came into play a year later. Biden did this on day one. It's his energy policy that drove the prices up, and that's where the inflation came from. It's inflation caused by energy policy, not monetary policy, and that's why it doesn't matter how high the Federal Reserve Bank raises interest rates, it isn't going to solve the problem. And it certainly isn't going to bring the prices back down. So what's going to happen, and what has already happened, is that by driving the short-term interest rate above the long-term interest rate, the Federal Reserve Bank has shut down lending in a debt-based economy where it is absolutely essential to continuously be bringing new money into circulation as old money is taken out of circulation, paying off the existing loans and debts. We have $34 trillion in debt. But when the low interest rate is above the high interest rate, the yield curve is inverted, and that means the banks that have to borrow at the short term and lend at the long term, that means they lose money with every loan they make, so they stop lending. It's creating a cash crisis on Main Street. It's creating a liquidity crisis at banks, which is going to result in the insolvency of hundreds of them in a wave when something snaps. You need the lower interest rates to solve the money problem. But to solve the inflation problem, you need to lower the price of gasoline. How are you going to do that? Donald Trump's got the answer. Drill, baby, drill. You need to go back to drill, baby, drill. Permits and leases. Produce. Become an exporter. Drive the price of oil down. This is also your most effective weapon against Russia, against Iran. Cheap energy is everything. It's your whole economy. When energy is cheap, the people can do everything. When energy is expensive, they can't even get to work. So you can't fix stupid. And they're going to need to fix something because the interest rates aren't cutting it. Main Street is dying. Banks aren't lending. Main Street is losing their access to capital. And the only way to restore the quality of life and bring back down the prices, because you hear them on TV, oh, the inflation rate is down, the inflation rate is down. You idiot! It was up at, well, they said 9%, but if you go to the supermarket, everybody knows inflation was running at 20%, not 9%. They're hiding half the statistic. In fact, if you go back to the consumer price index that they were using in the 1970s and use that index, inflation was running at 17, 18%. See, they've manipulated the consumer price index to hide the inflation. Whenever a major product got too expensive that it warped the inflation index through the 80s, the 90s, and so forth, they removed that product from the index. Oh, houses are so expensive. Well, everybody doesn't own a house. Take it out of the index. Oh, cars are so expensive. Well, not everybody owns a car. Take it out of the index. Oh, milk has become so expensive. Oh, not everybody drinks milk. Take it out of the index. So they've been manipulating the index to produce the statistical result that they want. And we saw it in play here where they said inflation's running at 9%. Really, we know at the store it was running somewhere between 20 and 25 if you looked at the price of goods. If you looked at the price of energy, it was running at 50 to 100%. And it's that 100% that cascaded into the price of goods at the stores that drove their prices up. It wasn't monetary inflation, it was energy policy inflation. And you can't fix energy policy problems with monetary policy. All you do is destroy the banking system. So, you need to drill, baby, drill, which means you got to put Donald Trump back in office, because if a Democrat gets into office, this country's going down hard. Hard. The only way to climb out of this hole, the only way to restore the quality of life, the only way to bring the prices back down is to bring down the price of gasoline, diesel fuel, electricity, and natural gas. And that will save the planet. And what the Democrats have in store is the destruction of the planet's economic system, global destruction, so that the elites can move with their plan to institute a one-world government from an elite council that rules the world from 15,000 miles away. It's back to King George. Or is it Julius Caesar?